most people these days can definitely agree with the statement that the Shadowlands storyline isn't really all that good, especially with the most recent ending for the Jailer. So many confusing aspects, so many things unanswered and just completely vague, and just so many plot holes. But in this video, I actually wanted to talk about them, cover them, what it is that is so bad about this story. Let's actually put it on a list and let us examine it. For example, who even is this guy? What is the point of Baine in this entire expansion? Why is this world a prison? And a whole bunch of other things. As gamers, we spend a long time in front of screens. If you work in front of a monitor, which you probably do, you pretty much strain your eyes the entire day. Now, GMG Performance, the sponsor of this video, sent me these glasses a few months back, and they're excellent. They're pretty much just like a physical blue light filter, which immediately relaxes your eyes as soon as you put them on. As the glasses are a blue light shield, they can help you sleep, as well as make your eyes not feel tired as much when you spend a long time in front of a screen. Now, they sent me these Arenas glasses, but they also have the optimizers and a bunch of other models. And if you use my link in the description for the next 48 hours, you can pretty much get them at almost half the price. So check out my link in the description and get GMG Performance glasses. Jailer concept. Remember this guy? The guy that stood behind the screaming banshee Sylvanas, the Anubarak looking guy with chains all over him that kind of, resonated with the name Jailer. Do you also remember this apparently leaked concept of a bad guy with a crown? Well, this is no one in particular. Blizzard literally created a cinematic with this villain, yet decided to just scrap him later on, as he was a shadowy figure. It is okay, I mean, it was a very vague concept, a lot of things happened that year. But it is bad because they literally changed everything else as well, like mid-production, which is really getting obvious at this point. Why is he even called a jailer when the guy is literally the banished one and he was imprisoned himself? A lot of us speculated that this is the final form of Zoal, but it is actually not. It literally has nothing to do with him. At this point, it is even more apparent that they more than likely changed up the rune carver and Primus and just made up Zoal pretty much on the spot. Primus and that concept and the rune carver with the chains make a lot more sense than the actual Zoal we got. Now, not to make a really big deal out of it, but it obviously shows that a significant portion of this expansion was scrapped and, just changed mid-development. Drill beneath Icecrown. As you may have seen in the cinematic, apparently right under Icecrown's citadel there is a huge, massive drill machinery that more than likely reached the actual world soul as it started channeling its blight Azerite through the spire in Icecrown, through the Shadowlands, and somehow into Zereth Mortis and the Sepulcher. We still of course don't know how exactly. While cool on first glance, when you examine it, this is actually hilarious. That spike has been a conduit this entire time. That little random shard of ice that the Lich King only later made all the machinery around. That spike of ice from the Warcraft 3 that literally made no sense. While it wasn't even explained how this even managed to reach Zereth Mortis through the Icecrown Citadel, the most interesting part is that Bolvar has been a Lich King for like countless years. Bolvar has also essentially been the cat god of the Shadowlands, yet not once did it come to him that, that massive drill in the basement of your former citadel, that is just of no concern whatsoever. The massive, gigantic machinery meant to dig into the world soul, something not even the old gods could do. Bolvar, as a Lich King, had like no knowledge of that, and as he was rebellious the entire time, couldn't he have like destroyed it, or after he was freed, at least told us about it, mentioned it at least once that this could be a potential issue? Yet pretty much this entire machinery in his basement was a shock to him as much as it was to us. Baine. So, while Baine really is a point himself, as he literally didn't do anything, even more hilarious plot hole is that in an interview prior to the Shadowlands release, they told us that Baine may be able to find the spirit of his father and learn the truth of his people. The keyword here being may. As you all play through the Shadowlands, you can realize that the only thing Baine learned is that what it is like to sit in the hallway for like a year and not do anything, then just come up with a few random one-liners that pretty much everyone just ignores. What was the truth of his people that Baine was supposed to learn? I'm guessing that was one of the main reasons why he was even thrown into this entire expansion and in the maw in the first place. Yet by the looks of it, the only truth is that Zoal just decided to waste like a year of his life for pretty much nothing. Margrave Crexus. Not really a plot hole, but I think this one is just hilarious as well. So Crexus was one of the main guys in Maldraxxus. He had an entire appearance in the Afterlife cinematic. They literally built his model and had him in the original, really high quality CGI. Then he was on pretty much all the Shadowlands artwork, promo stuff, loading screens, right up there with the Eternal ones that are apparently so powerful. Yet this guy, just as Shadowlands was released, died, and that was pretty much all there is for his experience. Well, not really a plot hole. I think it is just hilarious that they put so many resources into this completely brand new character to destroy him immediately and for everyone to just forget about him completely like a week later. Prison World. Remember back in BFA when Sylvanas killed Sourfang and told us that we are all nothing, we are toy soldiers, when she destroyed the Lich King and told us that this world is a prison and she will set us all free, how we never had free will. Yeah, pretty much that led to nowhere in particular at this point. I know this almost certainly talks about the mechanism of the first ones, but as they didn't bother to explain any of that, these lines make like zero sense whatsoever. Weren't we supposed to learn why this world is a prison and what is going on? This world is a prison and she will set us all free, yet she decides to just abandon the jailer and then join us, you know, the ones that are not free, so that she can start reliving her memories, and suddenly she also gets a personal therapist. What does that even mean? Jaina. Really quick point, but what even is the point of Jaina? Like, seriously? Sure, she isn't as useless as Baine, but what did she add exactly to this entire Shadowlands storyline? I mean, she was strongly connected to the Scourge of Lordaeron and Arthas, yet when that stuff came up, she got like 3 glances in total in the cinematic and she didn't really say anything significant. She also objected heavily to Sylvanas, but when Uther told her just trust me, she was like, yeah, it's all cool, everything is fine. To top it all off, there was that entire thing where a moment was like weeks in the maw in regards to her character, which also led nowhere. I feel like if we didn't have Jaina in the Shadowlands, it would be pretty much the exact same experience. Cosmos Divided. So, apparently the jailer revealed to us that the cosmos can't be divided for what is to come. Yet this dude literally did everything he possibly could to just divide everyone. Hated the Legion to divide the Titans, used the Dreadlords to divide the Legion, got his Loa and manipulated Titan Watchers to divide life on Azeroth, got Sylvanas to create this massive war to divide factions, did this Shadowlands Civil War thing to divide death. So when you think about it, all this guy has been doing all these years is just dividing the cosmos. Now, I know they're probably going with the angle that he wanted to divide and then conquer everyone so that it can all be united under death, but yeah, how did that work out exactly? Primus and the Sigil. I'm not sure how much this is a plot hole, but more like a really dumb thing to do. So Primus was caught by the jailer, extracted for all the war information, yet the only solace he had was that he was able to hide his sigil, which was the real thing the jailer was after. So we decided to search for this, find this sigil, and, you know, just bring it to the middle of Torghast where the jailer would just claim it like 5 seconds later. I know they explained this, but this just seems so overly stupid. Literally all of Primus's resistance was for nothing, and we just decided to bring it to him anyway, so I'm sure there could have been another more well thought out way. I will never serve. I'm guessing this one will be cleared up more with the new Sylvanas novel and the actual Shadowlands ending, but damn, this might just be one of the lamest moments in all of Warcraft history. Sylvanas, that did nothing but serve and was literally just the hand of the jailer on Azeroth, realized all of a sudden that she will never serve. Despite this jailer guy obviously not appearing as the good guy in any way, shape or form, and telling her he isn't one, but the serve line was the one that really got to her. I know they're going with this entire she was under his control thing, but obviously she was able to break free quite easily, so it is really ridiculous that she did a million different things serving so well, but this one was where she really drew the line. It wasn't the destruction of Teldrassil, killing all these people, doing all the bad things to the Forsaken, but it was when he told her that she will serve like that one really hit her ego. Night Warrior. Not a precise point, but this is like the plot hole saga. So Sylvanas obviously burned down Teldrassil, destroyed the Night Elven civilization significantly, got Tyrande to invoke the forbidden dark form of Elune, and got her on a frenzy to chase down the Banshee Queen into the Death Realm itself. So she's just crazy, then finally goes into battle with Sylvanas after all this time, and then all of a sudden Elune just decides to abandon her, and that's that. Now Tyrande isn't even angry, she just does a complete 180 and decides to all of a sudden talk about forgiveness, rebuilding, even though Sylvanas at that point was still running around, still doing bad things and serving the jailer. Also, Elune kind of vaguely says that she allowed this entire thing to happen, possibly indirectly, and Tyrande is, just completely cool with that, like no arguing whatsoever. Now, I understand rebuilding and not letting the anger get the best of you, but come on, if there ever was a justified anger reaction, it was that of the Night Warrior. First ones. I can say this is just unexplained at this point, but it just seems so overly ridiculous. So get this, the first ones are like these crazy proto-titans, the architects of the universe. They build everything, they shape realms, they order the cosmos itself. From the looks of it, they create all these gods pretty much everywhere. They are like the main gods. Yet they also create this prophecy and even open gateways for us mortals to come in thousands of years later at some point, and they expect us to save the day. I understand what they're doing with this, but damn, this is just like so cheesy. So first ones build this crazy, overly complex mechanism, yet some random mortals from Azeroth are like their go-to guys, like the main part of their plan, like these people will save the day or everything will be undone. They also kind of expect the jailer to break free and to do this, so shouldn't they, gotten rid of him in a more effective way than they already did? I don't know, it just seems like we are given far too much importance, like way over the titans and the literal gods of the Warcraft universe themselves. Jailer Genius. Aside from his completely ambiguous goal and even more ambiguous past, what is even more ridiculous is that Soa is painted as this million IQ master manipulator that even managed to get the best of Primus, the guy that literally has a superpower to examine multiple events and to determine the best outcome. So the jailer manipulates titans, gods, whatever else crazy intelligent divine beings, all is a part of this plan that lasts over 25,000 years. He also has eyes on Azeroth, he sees that we defeated the old gods, the Legion, his Scourge, his Lich King, all these threats, we defeated all of them in a matter of like 1 decade, yet he decides to, for some reason, completely neglect us, just calls us dumb mortals, spare us because we are of no consequence, and lo and behold, we managed to defeat him because guess what? He underestimated us. This trope is just insanely played out with arrogant villain underestimating us and being defeated, but I feel like they just took this one to the next level, which is totally not in line with previous thing this genius mastermind had done. Thank you for watching. Check out the actual leaks for the next expansion by clicking on the screen, and check out Donuts Academy for videos on real world history. See you next time.